Welcome to my ultimate martial archer guide for Age of Empires Mobile in 2026, where I am going to go through all of the nitty-gritty stuff from Season 1 all the way to the current season in Season 7, so you understand the differences of all the heroes, including Henry, including Napoleon, Isabella, as well as Saladin and Eleanor. So you will know how to obtain all of these different heroes and create arguably one of the most disgusting open field formations out there that actually tackles PvP a little bit different compared to all of the other formations in the game. So smash a like, comment, and subscribe. And with all of that said, check out the link down in the description down below to download Age of Empires Mobile today. And let's dive into today's guide, where we do need to break down the differences of all the heroes first, and then I'm going to explain how this formation plays. Because the thing is, you'll notice heroes like Napoleon and Isabella are going to be heroes that only appear currently through an event called the Heroes Audience event. This came during the anniversary event for Age of Empires Mobile, and it should potentially appear for you again on the next anniversary, or even during another potential event upgrade. Who knows? But this is the only opportunity to get them. So if you do not own a Napoleon, this is going to be quite rough for you, because he is the #1 commander you need in order to make martial archers actually viable in the open field. With that said, now if we go to the next set of heroes, we've got Saladin as well as Eleanor. These two heroes are much more accessible for every single player to get. You can actually get these through the legendary advent wheel in Season 3, as well as going all the way up to Season 7. And even if you miss any of these heroes, they will come again through the legendary conscription events, where you can try and recruit old seasonal heroes that you might have been missing or that you need to work on to get to that 3rd star or 5 star. Finally, our main kind of starting hand, unfortunately, is going to be Henry, and you can actually obtain this hero completely free to play. Yes, through the tavern, just summon him and you can get this guy in your arsenal. So now we kind of understand where all of these heroes come from. Let's explain why the Marshal formation works the way it does, and it all does revolve around our main boy Napoleon. He does even have the commander tag, really wanting you to use this hero in the game as the commander, because his entire damage output in the open field is always revolving around this commander skill. You deal strategy damage to one enemy troop in a fan-shaped area in front first for 550% strategy damage, plus this goes up with your strategy bonus, so it's a nice scaling skill. But then when activated in the triumphant return state, you additionally target 2 enemy troops and deal 1 additional instance of strategy damage to the very first primary target, which is 450% strategy bonus. After that, you consume all of the marks of the triumph, and to increase the damage of your next 2 signature active skills by 10%, which scales with your strategy bonus, and you exit the triumphant return state. This is going to make much more sense when we read his signature skill, which says when you're in combat, your active ability, when you take a turn, because that's how active skills work, you can enter potentially the triumphant return state. You deal strategy damage to the enemy troop, do 240%, which scales again with strategy, grants this hero 1 mark and stacking up to 2 marks, and then when fully stacked, the hero enters the triumphant return state, which immediately deals strategy damage of 400% strategy bonus scaling to the enemy troop, and increases your strategy damage output by 20%, which also scales with strategy bonus. And when acting as the commander, immediately gain 1 mark of rage, 1 mark when your rage reaches 90% for the first 2 times upon entering battle. And that is when you do get this hero even at 3 stars. When you get this hero at 5 stars, you can see when you exit the triumphant return state, you increase the damage of your next 2 signature skills by 5%, and when acting as commander, as soon as you hit 90%, guess what? You're gonna get 2 marks. So no matter what, this hero is all about firing off that signature skill, doing damage, gain 2 marks, and as soon as you get those 2 marks, you're going to be in the triumphant return state to make this Corsican Flame just do an absurd amount of AoE damage. And it is the most amount of damage you will ever see from a rage skill in the entire game of Age of Empires Mobile. It is disgusting how much damage Napoleon cannons actually fire off. And the thing is, he has some really good skills to actually help him do this as well, like the Eagle Artillery, which increases your strategy damage as well. And if you max this skill out, it's a massive amount of, look at that, 10% with a 50% chance to ignore 20% of the enemy's defense, which is huge. And after activating your commander skill, you increase your activation chance of your signature skill by 10%. So no matter what, as you can see, Napoleon self-synergizes with himself, and when you combine that with a Strategy Master's Gift, just to give him even more damage and activation chance for that skill, he can honestly just keep generating marks and doing an absurd amount of damage. And this is what's really good about the Marshal Archer lineup that anyone will tell you. Napoleon can do damage. He is a fantastic commander in the game. Problem is the commanders around him. So as you notice, we have Isabella, and you can actually earn Isabella quite early on too in the game, and she is through this hero audience event that I was talking about, similar to Napoleon. The thing is with this hero, she is going to provide you your first kind of tanking support in the game, and she can do a pretty good job if you build her correctly. This is because when you read her skill, after your commander activates a signature active or signature turn-based skill, so anytime our Napoleon fires off his eagles, there's a 70% chance to increase the damage of your commander's signature skill by 15% for 6 seconds. So for 2 full damage rotations now, Napoleon's getting even more damage increase from Isabella. But for every free time your commander activates a signature active skill, you recover a unit and you reduce damage taken by 10% for 3 seconds. What's cool about this hero, you get her early on, and even though you will be replacing this hero in the formations, she does become a gathering hero as well, because she increases her gathering speed by 5% on all resources too. So no matter what, you actually get a good hero here that you can use early and actually transition and keep using to actually carry on powering up on your march, because she does give you some good extra recovery rate. She also extends the damage reduction and the time by an additional 6 seconds, which is kind of great, right? It's giving you quite a lot of survivability in early phase, and that is actually pretty decent for a support. However, we also have Henry, and as I mentioned, Henry here is the one hero that everyone can get access to. He is through the tavern, so by just summoning those different cards that you've got in the tavern, you're gonna pull Henry 100%. And especially when you start to get into the Stellar Dynasty seasons, you're gonna be doing all the new island tactics and the military exercise to do with Stellar Dynasty specifically, and getting a buttload of summons. I promise you, you will. So actually getting this hero leveled up quite quickly is easy, and I would recommend you guys never to waste any universal medals on this hero. If you do, shame on you. That is a bad thing. Let the game tavern actually level this hero up, because sadly in the game Henry is only okay, and I mean he's only okay, and even then, do you know what, I'm giving him too much credit, because he's arguably one of the worst commanders in the game, because he actually doesn't do too much, especially early on, and as soon as you hit season 2 onwards, it just doesn't actually keep you alive or help the Napoleon as much as, even as people have tested with certain heroes like Leon, that can actually do nearly as good of a job as an epic hero, which is kind of sad. This is because when you read Henry's skill, he's going to be dealing strategy damage to the enemy, but you increase your troops' range, which is okay, but it's only a small amount of range per second. And even when we max out this hero, we do get an extra 3 range per second. But when your commander uses their commander skill, we also get an 8% reduction in damage, which does scale with our strategy for 9 seconds, which is 3 full turns, which does sound kind of great on paper. But the problem is, again, when you just look at his stats, he only has a 0.83 attribute growth, so he has such low strategy, it just doesn't feel like you get as much out of this as you would hope. And the problem with this hero, even when you do equip further onto him to give him even more rage for your team, and then you're going to try and go down the strategy master's gift just to trigger that skill off more often to get this rage, you'll notice he just doesn't do too much damage, and sadly just doesn't generate too much rage. So it is a kind of big problem when it comes into that. So early game for your whole Marshal formation, it's gonna be rough. However, as I said, there's two heroes you're going to get access to. One through the Legendary Advent Wheel in Season 3 and 4, I believe, which is Saladin. And in the newest season, Season 7, you're actually getting Eleanor. And oh boy, this is when things actually get good. And your perseverance and just working on that Napoleon and making him as good as you can while you're getting your gear set up for your other two commanders while you're waiting for them kind of pays off, because Saladin is what we would call an actual rage engine. He is a #1 commander in this role. There is no commander in the entire game that generates rage as much as a Saladin. And this is just because of what he provides. He gives you 2 passives instantly, which increases your troops' rage by per second. This also scales with might and strategy, which is great because you could use a variety of different rings on this hero from all different levels, which we are going to discuss in the formation section. But then on top of this, when your commander uses a signature active skill or second strike skill, you recover even more rage. So even when your good old Napoleon is firing off his signature skill, which he needs to do, you're going to be getting so much rage because of that, which is a really good payoff, even at 3 stars. And this is the one thing I will say about Saladin. He is a hero where at 3 stars, you get the maximum rage you can get out of this hero. The only way you get more rage is technically through the scaling of this hero, because he gets might and strategy on each of his pips, which is quite nice. But when you 5-star this hero, this only is a damage increase. So if you don't care about trying to waste so many of your precious universal medals on Saladin to get to 5-star, not many people are going to be upset about it. Yes, you're going to lose a 30% increase on your commander's damage output, which does include his commander skill and his signature active skill, for example. But is it going to be worth your universal medals when you could be potentially 5-starring instantly an Eleanor while running a 3-star Saladin, which is a very valid option. Eleanor is amazing. She is honestly an amazing hero that you've been waiting for in this game. For the first 12 seconds after entering battle, your troops recover rage. And you can see this is a nice amount of rage, even when I've just leveled up to level 10. And you can see the growth there is 0.11. Really nice rage increase. And that reduces to half the amount, basically, when you go afterwards. When your units fall below 80%, you reduce damage taken, which is great. And this is, again, scaling up with strategy bonus. And you increase your commander's main strategy by 23 points. This is at level 10. This is going to go to 23.9 for 9 seconds. So for 3 full turns, we are giving our Napoleon 3 attributes. And the more attributes that he has, as you should know, the more damage he does. Strategy is the main attribute you need for this match. It is. So without it, you're going to be lacking in damage and technically damage reduction against other strategy users, such as Ramses, that you're going to see in the open field. So it's a very clever skill that gives you so much value already. And on top of this, you also afterwards recover your units and reduce damage taken for your troops by until the end of battle. And this triggers up once every 20 seconds, which is everything you kind of want in one support, right? She's got damage reduction, she's got recovery, she's increasing your commander's strategy now, she's also increasing your range output. This is everything you need in order to keep that really high rage uptime with that Saladin that we just discussed all together. And she does have further, like we kind of saw, that we're going to have equipped onto our Saladin, that increases all of your heroes' might, armor, and strategy by a nice amount, but also increases your troops' rage output, which is nuts. But We have Radiant Finch, which is after your commander activates their first commander skill, reduce troop damage taken by 1.62%. And as well, when your troops' rage exceeds 80% of their limit, your troops have a 100% chance to gain silence immunity. Oh yes, so as you're about to fire off your Napoleon's cannons, guess what? You cannot be interrupted because you are completely silence immune. And you also increase your commander's strategy damage dealt by 2.42%. When you max this skill out, it is a beautiful 8% damage reduction with a 12% increase in strategy damage dealt. So this is a great steroid again for the game, and you can run a variety of different builds, one being Raw of Victory to really go in for the rage. However, as you'll see in my guide, I'm going to opt in for Immortal Armyy to give you survivability, because you do need to survive in order to fire off those cannons, and you'd be surprised the more you can fire off your cannons and survive in a battle, that's how you win with Napoleon and the Marshal formation. So now we've gone through all of the different heroes here. Let's break down all the formations that actually going to need with their skills, with their rings, and obviously what I'm going to rate these formations. And afterwards, I'm going to go down all of the signet rings properly so you can understand all the theory craft, and then go down the adornments for your mounts with the traits, as well as your gems for your good old gear. So with that, let's get into the very first one, which is going to be, unfortunately, the weakest out of the bunch, which is going to be Napoleon, Henry, and Isabella. And we are going to be using Isabella with Fortification as well as Peaceful Haven. This is actually going to be a really defensive build for you, because she's giving all your commanders now 110 armor across the entire fight, which is going to give you that amount of defense against might users that you're going to see, plus Peaceful Haven, which is again 20% damage reduction. So with her main signature skill, this is a beautiful tie-up. Henry is running Fervor and Strategy Master's Gift, as we've explained why, for the rage, and obviously trying to generate as much rage for that Napoleon until we get our better hero, and then Napoleon running the Eagle Artillery Strategy Master's Gift in order to do as much damage, as well as obviously keeping that activation chance up. Now, the rings are really interesting because Napoleon himself has 3 honestly solid rings that you can play depending on your playstyle. Early game, if you just want an epic ring, Ring of the Serpent is a very good choice. However, the brand new Disastrous Tyrant here is a monster ring that was completely designed for Napoleon, that I do believe is the best in slot ring. However, if you want to go down a controlling route, Everflame Wings is a very good option for this hero. Henry, as you can see, has a mixture of different rings, and this is because you can use a variety of different rings on this position. Henry, which is gonna later upgrade into Saladin here, can actually use a variety of different rings depending on what you feel like you are lacking. Your main component that you'll notice in this formation is one thing. You need to get damage reduction and kind of survive out there, or bring something to the table to give you a little bit of an edge in the open field. So because of that, Saladin can provide you with your lofty mountains. He can bring you that Everflame Wings potentially if you want to. Ring of the Crow he could bring. I have seen Scorching Flames. I have seen a variety of different rings that all have been used on Saladin, and all of them do show great success. This is just because it's down to playstyle and what you believe you are missing for that slot. Isabella, though, this is going to be your defensive ring slot, and you can go down a variety of different rings, including Tranquil Water, Lofty Mountain, Ring of the Falcon, Sage of Judgment, just to name a few there, and any of those rings are going to be perfectly fine for you. And you'll notice now, moving into the finale of this, with the Eleanor upgrade, you can use the exact same rings that you've picked from the beginning of the game all the way to the end, which is one of the greatest things about this formation, that it's got a quite easy path to follow, and you've got quite a lot of flexibility when it comes to what your ring choice is, what your ring investments are going to be, if you want to go for a full legendary lineup, or if you want to include maybe double epic rings, which is again a lot more budget friendly depending on what your playstyle is, again, in Age of Empires Mobile. So with that, Going back into the Eleanor build, I suggest running Immortal Armyy with that Radiant Finch, Saladin with Roar of Victory and Fervor for the maximum amount of rage generation that you can get without overcapping, and then again Napoleon with the same skills throughout that you're going to be using for this entire formation. And these are honestly the best you're going to get. As you'll notice with this formation in the early seasons, it does suffer quite a lot. Napoleon does the damage, and he's going to be one of the key characters in there. Isabella is trying to keep you alive, but Henry just doesn't cut it. As soon as we replace him, you will notice much better results. With a Saladin Isabella combo, this is actually going to keep you alive quite considerable until you hit that season 7 spike of where you get Eleanor, where this formation really steps up to the mark and you start to see the Napoleon cannons coming into full effect with all of the strategy damage that it's going to deal. So now we've gone through all of those. Let's break down, like I said, these signet rings properly so you can understand why I'm saying this, right? Napoleon has really 3 rings to go for. And if you want to be as low budget friendly, I do think Ring of the Serpent is the best choice. This is just giving you as much strategy as you can to your Napoleon. And what's even better is you're taking advantage of your might stat that you might have passively increased from just hero leveling, for example, and even your facility upgrades and your castle tech that you've done. And guess what? You're injecting some extra strategy because this scales off might bonus, which is really clever. You're using a stat that you don't need to your advantage. So very, very powerful ring. It has very good scaling. So it's not just 31.99. You're probably seeing 40, maybe 45, 50, 60 even extra strategy points with this. Very powerful ring for budget-friendly builds. However, when we go to the other rings, Disastrous Tyrant, I will tell you, in my opinion, is the best ring you must have for this commander. This deals strategy damage to the enemy troops, and it does a massive amount as well. When you check out this skill and start to hit, even at level 20 and 30, it's 133%, which is scaling off your strategy, and you increase the damage the enemy troop takes, which is a very powerful ability from your commander skill. It's only 3.3%, but it stacks up to 3 times. So this means you can put a 9.99%, let's just say 10%, increase in damage taken from your commander skill onto your opponent through your ring, which again, with all of the strategy damage increase and all damage increase that you're provided from your Saladin and from your Eleanor, you can kind of see why this gets a little bit out of hand and why you do so much commander skill damage of this. For the first 30 seconds as well, after entering battle, you increase the damage of your commander skill by 16.64%. After 30 seconds, the damage taken by your troop is increased by 8.3. So you can kind of feel like a double-edged sword, but you'll notice the ending result is always the same. Your Napoleon cannons always fire off first, and you always either kill them before they even get you killed, or guess what? They're just stronger than you. And that's kind of the whole crux of Age of Empires Mobile in a nutshell, which I kind of love. So this ring is, I would say, the best ring you can put right now on Napoleon. However, if you did want to try out the third choice, Everflame Wings, this is just to try and counter other marchers. Not other Napoleon marchers, but other marchers like your good old Miyamoto's, King Arthur's, maybe going against even Ramses. If you can actually get the silence proc off before even Ramses enters the Son of Ra state, guess what? He's on a delayed timer. He can't actually do anything. Compared to you as Napoleon that can literally put yourself immune before that even happens, which is a very powerful pro that you have that he doesn't have, right? So it's a very powerful ring, but it's more utility based. You won't do anywhere as much damage as the Disastrous Tyrant, but you should know that. When it comes to your other rings, especially like I said, the defensive rings, I would go down either Tranquil Water or what I would consider the best one, Lofty Mountain, because this gives you even more commander damage through its main stat up at the top, as well as even increasing your troops' damage output after 18 seconds in fighting too. So it's a very powerful ring, and the more you scale up your Lofty Mountain, the more value this just gets for the Napoleon March. As well, if you want to go down other routes, Swirling Tempest is really good against all of the crit that you're seeing right now in a game. And if you want to be a bit more budget friendly, obviously Ring of the Falcon. The thing is, whatever other rings that you want to bring for your Saladin or even potentially for your Eleanor is up to you, because again, the third slot, whatever ring you want to bring is up to debate. Some people bring Skyward Knight just to even enhance the amount of damage that Napoleon deals. This would be equipped to your Eleanor, while your Lofty Mountain would be equipped to your Saladin in this case, so you can understand how this would lay out. And this is just, again, give you as much commander damage as possible. I have seen even in Server 91 and other areas using Divine Warrior just to, again, increased amount of damage of your other two heroes by equipping this onto your Eleanor. This is increasing Saladin as well as Napoleon's damage output and the activation chance of their skills, which is a very clever thing that you can do, but I don't think it's the best thing that you can do. So I would recommend actually going down more of a defensive route. I think it's a much better role. Even using Ring of the Crow on Saladin is actually a very clever idea, because you're stealing stats off the enemy, and when you actually scale this skill up to max rank, it's 55 might, strategy, and armor. And the thing is, as you know, this is scaling off strategy. Our Saladin does scale off both might and strategy. So it's a very powerful way of actually getting so much value into your kit while reducing your enemy's effectiveness for their commander. So this is a very clever ring that you could use for him. But again, whatever you kind of want to choose for that slot, as we've shown in the formation screens, is up to you. And you'll notice this is quite the cool versatility of this formation. Now we've gone through all the signet rings, let's talk about the mounts, right? Because the mounts are quite simple. With Napoleon, you literally need Spirit Bond and Armyy Sunder. And if you can get an Armyy Sunder legendary first, I would actually go for that to increase all damage types that you deal. So that means your signature skill should be increased, as well as basically your normal attack. Just everything should be increased. So very powerful to have. But combining Armyy Sunder and Spirit Bond for your Napoleon is going to be the GOAT. You do obviously want to aim for having armor and strategy for your main two attributes here. So again, try to aim for all of that for your main guy. When it comes to his adornment, because obviously you can go to Adornment Workshop, I would be aiming always for the DPS adornment. So you want the piercing arrow to increase your hero skill damage. This is again amplifying all of your hero skill damage from your skills as well as the commander skill here. And when your commander skill hits only one troop, dealing additional damage, I know a lot of people like this, but it's one of those things where you'll notice when you start to read it, it just doesn't feel good, because you are naturally going to be, you know, hitting multiple people. So when it comes to all the different ones, there is a couple of different builds I've seen, one being power accumulation, but one of the safest actual outputs to run is having resistance. Just running triple resistance for this formation is perfectly reasonable, right? Otherwise, you're going to be looking at one of these abilities, which is basically Strike Soul. And you've got to imagine Strike Soul, if you're only commander scaling and you're in a triumphant state, but you only hit one person, you're not really getting the full value of what that skill's about, which is the whole AOE, right? You're supposed to be in there doing as much damage. So to me, and for my opinion, when it comes to all of your adornments, even when you can look at everything that you have at your disposal here, the best one that you could have is definitely that. One people do try Slaughter when an enemy troop has less than 20% units. You increase the mounted hero's commander skill damage to them, which allows you to finish off targets faster. If you want to run Slaughter on Napoleon, I think that would be okay, but my number one option would be Resistance. And when it comes to the other heroes now, right? So when it comes to your Saladin, I would definitely be aiming for more universal defensive skills. So when it comes to your traits here, you want to look for stuff like your good old, like Entrenchment is a really good one, or like Perseverance is a good one. Bedrock potentially is a really good one, just to kind of explain what you're looking for here, where he's trying to just reduce damage, right? So the troop normal attack damage reduction is quite cool. It's going to help you against potentially those cavalry that's going to come in, but when you have bedrock, you're reducing all damage taken. And that is kind of a premium. So if you're able to get bedrock maxed out on him first and then go for another type of damage reduction of your choice, that's what I would be going for on my Saladin, just to try and give him a little bit more, urgency in giving you a bit more damage reduction, right? When it comes to your other hero, obviously our good friend Eleanor, as well as even Isabella here, they're going to be using a very simple horse that you've seen pretty much on all of my videos here on the channel, right? Which is going to be any horse that looks like this, which is Lifesaver and Renewal, or Lifesaver and even Healing Armor as a good example, right? This is where your healing effects go off and you get an additional 4.8% damage reduction, but with the Renewal or Healing effect, Healing Armor, you're increasing your troops or your current only heroes' mounted healing effectiveness, which is basically helping them heal even more, which is what you want. With this, you do want to go for Armor and Strategy again, for the horse, same with the Saladin horse. And as you've probably guessed, for Saladin, for your Henry, for your Isabella, and for the Eleanor, when it comes to the adornments, you actually just want to go for full Eagle's Blessing. So you've got double troop damage taken reductions, so you don't take as much damage. And then for the special effects, you've guessed it, yes, it is. It's a triple resistance when it comes to this good old formation. And that's honestly what I would run for your adornments on your formation. Now, to finish it up is going to be your gems. So Napoleon, obviously, when it comes to his gems, your main gems are going to be your good old unit health. So if we go to, for example, here, you want all unit health for your main gems. The brand new mechanic has just come out and I've been already looking at it. And when it comes to the new composite gems, you always want to be prioritizing unit health and unit strategy. If you can get both unit health and unit strategy for your composite gem here, it's going to be perfect. And you're going to be wanting that for all of your gears. Yes, you heard right. If you can get as many of that placed in, it's going to help you the most for your account. When you go to your hand, it's going to be the same thing. So you want to go for all strategy for the main gems for your braces. Once you upgrade them to the mythic gear, you're going to be doing the same thing. All unit health, as well as hero strategy for your composite gem, just like before. If we go to the chest piece for Napoleon, it's going to be just like we see here. Hero active skill damage, because this is increasing his active skill, which is the only type of relevant gem that you can run to increase his damage output. But then, as you guessed it, it's going to be hero strategy and all unit health again. If you don't have unit health, I would say the second best thing to go for is either all unit capacity and strategy, or as a third alternative, you can go all unit defense and hero strategy. So as you've noticed, I'm trying to either give myself more troops or I'm trying to keep myself alive through health or defense bonuses for the march, right? When it comes to the legs, you just use one of everything. And as you guessed it, for the composite gem, what you're going to be whacking in here, it's going to be hero strategy and either one of the three that I've just said: capacity, defense, or health, what you've got to your disposal. So Napoleon gems are done. When it comes to your Saladin though, Saladin is actually a really interesting one, because when it comes to his helmet, you're going to be running the same as before: unit health, and potentially, if you don't want to run all unit health on Saladin, you could go for capacity, full capacity for all of your gem slots for your helmet. This is just going to increase, obviously, the amount of troops that you bring. And the more troops that you bring, it actually scales up the amount of damage that you could potentially deal because of that, which is quite nice. So you could run all unit capacity, but when it comes to here, you can go for either might or strategy. It doesn't actually matter, but I would go for unit health or defense again, or capacity for the composite gem. For your hands though, and only this hero can do this, which is really nice, you can actually use your all attribute gems. Honestly, using all attributes on Saladin is actually fantastic. You get might, you get strategy, and you get armor. So you're getting all three stats all applied. And as we know, we scale off might and we scale off strategy, which is really good. We're getting all of those bonuses actually to our effect And if you use stuff like the Ring of the Crow, as I mentioned, you're stealing stats. Or if you run Ring of the Lion, you've just gained all those stats as well. So you can see why all attributes for Saladin is actually a really good way to just kind of get rid of that. If you don't want to run that, I would honestly just go for the Might. Might's the best way of running him. When it comes to the chess piece, we do run Roar of Victory, which is a secondary strike skill. So if you want to run secondary strike skill gems for this hero, you can, but also true normal attack is a very good option to save you on budget gems, since you might be using those secondary strike skills for maybe Warrior Cavalry as a good example for a match that might use them. Legs, one of everything that I've mentioned, and if you notice, for all of the composite gems for any of these pieces of gear, I really do want you to get either Hero Might or Strategy, it doesn't matter, but Hero Health, Hero Capacity. Go for one of those, right? And you're going to be perfectly fine for Mythic Gems. When it comes to Eleanor, and this is going to be the same for, obviously, our friend Isabella too, because they're running the exact same. If you check out their skills here, all of these are mainly flat, but then you got the strategy bonus and strategy bonus. So that tells you straight away, when it comes to the helmet, we're going to do what we've said already. All unit health, and if you want to go for more damage, go for unit capacity gems. The composite, though, I would always go for, obviously, strategy as well as unit health. That's just something you should always try and aim to get on this 4th gem. When it comes to your hands, we want all strategy gems. So just like our Confucius here, we want hero strategy, hero strategy, hero strategy. Then we want hero strategy as well as the defense on the composite. Or if you can, all unit health for this upgrade. When it goes to the chess piece, we go to here, we want all hero recovery effects, and you can kind of see here a really good option of running actually all unit types health and armor as a good alternative if you can't find strategy substats. This is just because armor is reducing might damage that you take, so you can obviously get an extra point just to help you out on that boat. So you can see these are going to be your gems for basically your Eleanor as well as your Isabella. Legs is one of the same gems that I've gone through, including the same composite gems. So now we have gone through all of that. That is literally everything for the martial archers in Age of Empires Mobile currently for 2026 right now. So if you've got Napoleon, great on you. You honestly have one of the best open field commanders in the game right now, doing absurd amount of damage. But hopefully you understand the differences that we've gone through when it comes to Napoleon, Henry, and Isabella as your starting lineup, upgrading it into Napoleon, Saladin, and Isabella. And then finally get into your final season in Season 7, Napoleon, Saladin, and Eleanor in there with all of the different variety of rings that you're able to use on all of the commanders, kind of cycling through here for you all. And again, if you want to ask any questions about this formation, comment down below. I'm happy to give you some answers and showcase, again, any of my insights on this formation. So with that said, smash like, comment, and subscribe. And until the next video, stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.